Welcome to Ridgewood Talks. Through this podcast, we will be introducing you to some of the leaders and legends in our village. We'll keep you updated about fascinating local events, and we'll dig into the town's hot topics and so much more. But first, let me introduce myself. I'm Jeannie Johnson, the founder of Ridgewood Talks and Ridgewood Walks. The goal of these initiatives is to create a kinder, more connected, and more vibrant community. I'm thrilled to be co-hosting this podcast with my good friend and all-around wonderful guy, Jordan Kaufman. We look forward to meeting with you weekly and hearing your thoughts on who and what you'd like to learn about in our beautiful hometown. Enjoy this episode.
Hello, Jeannie. How you doing?
Hi, Jordan. I'm very happy. It's good to see you, and I'm very excited about our guest today.
Yeah, this is a repeat guest and someone who's definitely a mover and shaker in the village of Ridgewood. So we have Ramon Hache. He is the CEO of the Ridgewood YMCA. And Ramon, I feel like your resume is almost too long to list out all of the achievements and accomplishments for everything else. We're thrilled to have you. Thanks so much for coming on.
Good morning to you both.
Jeannie, before we jump into some of the talk with Ramon, you have some exciting news about what's been happening with the podcast and the Ridgewood High School.
Well, first of all, yes, I want to once again thank the Ridgewood AM Rotary for sponsoring our podcast. They are a terrific organization, and I encourage our listeners to please log on at ridgewoodrotary.org and find out more about what they do. And also, I just want to give a big shout out to them, a big thank you to them for supporting us. So I have been working with John Bill at Ridgewood High School for a couple of years. And our original producer for Ridgewood Talks is Sharon Newman. She is a former Ridgewood resident who was a producer for Brian Williams NewsHour and Stephanie Rules on MSNBC. She is a renowned television news producer, and she is going to be working with me and with John Bill at Ridgewood High School, and we are going to work on a project for Ridgewood High School students. It is a national public radio contest, and it is a student podcast. So we are super excited to be going into the Duffield recording studio. For those of you who don't know, a former Ridgewood High School graduate donated $650,000 to the high school recently, and they built a state-of-the-art recording studio. So we're going to be working out of there with the students, and we couldn't be happier about that. So that is all to come. So please stay tuned for that, listeners. Now, Jordan, if you're okay, I did do a little bit of a formal intro for our guests. So I just want those of you who are listening who don't know Ramon, I just want you to understand that he is one of Ridgewood's most well-known and favorite sons. We mentioned before, he is a Ridgewood High School graduate. He graduated in 1991 after he and his family immigrated to the U.S. from the Dominican Republic. Ramon holds a Bachelor of Science degree in Business Administration and Management from Marist College. And before he went to work for the Y, he worked in banking, asset and wealth management, architecture, and real estate. So he is very well versed in those fields and did very, very well. He was then elected to the village council in 2016 and became mayor in 2018. And then he moved on to the Bergen County Board of Commissioners and served as our representative there for, I think, 3 years. Ramon has spearheaded multiple projects that have greatly benefited the Ridgewood community. And I have to say, and give him a huge thank you for his steadfast leadership that pulled us through the early days of the pandemic. He was the founder of the original pedestrian plaza. And also, I think he would probably agree with me that one of the projects that he initiated really saved our downtown, and that was Feed the Front Lines. So we can really be so proud of him for all the work that he has contributed to our community. And now he has recently joined the Ridgewood YMCA as the Chief Executive Officer and will tell tell us more about all the great things that are happening there. So again, welcome, Ramon, and thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Well, we're going to kick it off just because I mentioned earlier that you are just a fantastic guest and you don't really need formal questions. So I'm just going to throw this at you. And I just want you to tell us, first of all, when you decided to join the Y, what was it about it that just really piqued your interest? And why did you have such a passion to go from the private sector to the public sector?
Yeah, so, the Y for me, I have many fond memories here, not only coming here as a kid and my mother taking English classes here in the evening when I was younger. But it's a wonderful organization. As you have mentioned before, a lot of the things that I was doing professionally and in public service, the way that I look at kind of my life, I've been kind of juggling 4 pillars in my life. One is my work with nonprofits. I've done a ton of work with nonprofits as a volunteer, not only locally, but for national organizations. My professional work, right? And then also my community service, which took initially the form of public office, but also volunteering and doing work, community organizations. And also, my family, right? I mean, that's the most important thing. When the opportunity came before me to apply for the job here, I viewed it as a way to balance all those 4 things, right? To do my nonprofit work, but then also get paid for it, right? So combining the work with the nonprofit, look at community impact in a different way, and then also have more time to be with family and be, closer to home. I mean, my commute is 3 minutes. So it really allowed me to bring all those aspects of my life together into one place. And I saw the opportunity here for the Y, just a tremendous opportunity in terms of what the Y has done and what the Y can do. So I'm very happy to be here. Sure.
Well, our community is lucky to have you in that position. I know the Y has contributed a lot to the community in terms of programming for our residents and residents outside of Ridgewood. I don't know that everyone knows that there's actually a food pantry there. So can you tell us a little bit more about the community impact, including the pantry?
Yeah, and that's one of the beauties of the Y, right? And people always think of the Ridgewood Y as serving Ridgewood. We service 42 towns in our service area. I think people are usually shocked when they hear about that. And the Y has always traditionally been known for more around sports and fitness and so on. But there's, again, we invented basketball and volleyball, right? Those are 2 sports that were invented at the YMCA. But also, the involvement and the impact on the community. Father's Day was created at the Y, and so was Black History Month. So when we think about, why would the Ridgewood Y, in this case, be involved with food distribution? The goal here is for us to identify what are the issues that are significant in facing the community and what are the things that we can do to help. So just last year alone, we distributed 17,000 boxes of food. And part of what we do here is, sourcing the food and forming partnerships with organizations like Community Food Bank of New Jersey. But it's amazing. If you ever have the chance, if you come here on a Tuesday in the afternoon, 3:00, you'll see the line of people. It's almost 200 families that we serve. It's tremendous. And people, I think, in general in the area, don't realize just how bad the food insecurity issue is in the state of New Jersey. 14% of people in the state of New Jersey are food insecure. But I think people don't realize because of the zip codes, right, in the area, that it's a real problem here. And it's tremendous because, with the rising cost of everything, right, anything that you pay for these days is much higher than it was 5 years ago. But food in particular has gotten really expensive. And when you have your line of bills to pay in a month, right, you have to pay the mortgage, the rent, everybody else, everything else. Food, unfortunately, takes sort of a back seat to all those things. And then what you have left over, whatever that is, will dictate not only the quantity, but the quality of the food that you put into your body. We've been really fortunate here to have had a donation of a walk-in freezer so we can take in perishables. So what we distribute here on Tuesdays is vegetables, it's fruits, it's sometimes pastries. We don't turn anything down and it's not just a food pantry. We call it our Beyond Pantry because we also distribute toiletries and diapers, which are so expensive. Sometimes we distribute light bulbs, right? These energy efficient bulbs. So there's so many things here that, I think people are surprised sometimes that, well, why is the Y involved? Well, we say that we are for healthy living, that we are for youth development, but that we're also for social responsibility. And I think we all have a responsibility to tackle these social issues because just because they don't impact us doesn't mean that we don't have a responsibility in helping with the problem.
Yeah, and I just want to jump in there too, because I did work with the Bergen County Food Security Task Force. And one of the things that I learned while I was working there is that it's surprising to know that it is 2 years after a financial catastrophe that people really start to go to food pantries. And that for the very reason that you just said, people are doing fine, they have their money. And then they start to max out their credit card, or they go through their savings, and then they max out their credit cards. And then it's 2 years after this financial crisis where they find themselves like, oh, gee whiz, I have to pay my mortgage or my rent, I have to pay my car payment, my insurance, and so on. And then like you said, there's very little left over for food. So that's where people start to rely on food pantries. And I really want to point out to our listeners that it's not just your typical US citizen that you think, oh, gee whiz, they are uneducated and they have, they work in a service industry. No, sir. There are professionals, there are college educated people, there are people that are of quote unquote means that find themselves in situations where they have to go to food pantries. So, it behooves all of us to help everyone. And if the Y is providing this food in our community, I suggest that everybody do whatever they can to donate whatever they can. And maybe that even means time. Are you looking for volunteers for that?
Always. We can always use volunteers. And you bring up a great point, Jeannie. I think the people will be shocked by what the face of the food insecure looks like today. I think there's certainly, those folks who you wouldn't expect to be food insecure were facing those difficulties after the pandemic, certain stigma associated with that and asking for help. And unfortunately, a lot of people suffer in silence, right? It's embarrassing to admit that you don't have enough money or resources to put food on the table. So we just want everybody to know that our pantry is here. You pull in your car, pop the trunk. We place the food in the trunk. There's no shame in that. We have secured these resources to make them available to people. Please know that it's here.
That's terrific. All right, so I'm really pleased to know that pantry is thriving. And let's move on to some other things that you've got going on over at the Y. And what other areas would you say the Y has positively impacted our specific community in Ridgewood and then the community surrounding Ridgewood?
One of the things, we talk about food insecurity as being a major concern, but also drowning, right? Drowning in children is the leading cause of death in the U.S. It has become a public health crisis. And we are heavily focused on providing water instruction and most importantly, providing scholarships and subsidies for low-income families who wouldn't be able to afford these classes. So that's one of the things that we've really been focusing on. We're lobbying to the state to set aside some funding to be able to provide these programs at no cost to families who can't afford them. Traditionally, communities of color have been heavily impacted, more so than white communities. And because our reach expands in 42 towns, we serve over 25,000 people. So we're looking to continue to expand those types of programs. We're also looking at offering chronic disease support programs. We now have one of the largest support groups for Parkinson's in the state. It's amazing what happens to our members when they come join the program. The socialization, the activity, right? We have someone who's our director is wonderful at providing fitness programs and movement. And, there's so many aspects to Parkinson's that we're fully beginning to understand. But combining the socialization with the fitness aspect of it has been tremendous. And when you look at the impact that it's making in the lives of the members when they first get here to now, it's incredible. One of the things that we're looking at now is to develop programming for autism. We found that particularly young adults on the spectrum, once they reach the age of 21, sort of what they call the cliff. A lot of the programs, a lot of the opportunities for programming kind of go away, but the need certainly doesn't, right? And then what we find is that once those programs go away, folks tend to sit at home, be inactive, not have opportunities for fitness or opportunities for socialization. So I put together an autism think tank, and I was fortunate enough that just so many wonderful people volunteer to help with that. I personally don't have any experience with autism, but to fully understand the population and to understand what the needs are, you need to bring people who are a lot smarter and more well-versed to do that. So we did, and again, so the group kept growing because as more people found out that we were doing this, more people kind of raised their hands and say, hey, I want to be a part of that. So we're right now looking to create some programming sort of on the foundation is three pillars, one being the fitness aspect of it, more group lessons and so on. Water safety, so swim lessons, right? You need to have dedicated space and folks who are properly trained to provide those instructions. And then the third pillar being the socialization, right? Not social skills. We find that young adults on the spectrum have very limited opportunities to socialize with other young adults on the spectrum. So we want to provide those opportunities. And it's not really creating programming. I mean, I even hate to use the word program, but it's really creating a community of support, not only for the young adults, but also for the parents and the rest of the family. So we're in the process of working on that right now. We are most likely going to launch this in April. April is Autism Awareness Month. And we're very excited about what this is going to mean to the community.
I think it's absolutely terrific that, first of all, let's just talk about the Parkinson's thing. And I think when somebody's diagnosed with a chronic illness, having the support of other people is so critical to their health and well-being, right? To their mental health and well-being. And also, I would say, supporting parents of these people with autism. I think that it'd be surprising for people to understand what that world is like for parents that deal with that every day. So I really applaud you for your effort.
Ramon, as you do some of these new programs, and it seems like you guys are branching out and covering a lot of great space. Are you guys focused on any partnerships within the community with other organizations that have some experience here and that maybe share your vision of what you guys are trying to do?
Absolutely. So we're partnering with Alpine Learning Group, with United Way, with the Ridgewood STEPS program. We are also partnering with an organization. They're right behind us here. They're our neighbors, literally our neighbors. It's called Joy Do, and they provide vocational training and job placement. They're focusing on the unique abilities of young adults on the spectrum. It's, and every single one of these partners that we're working with, I mean, I'm always just floored by not only the knowledge, but the commitment that they have to autism. One of the directors that we're now working with to create the programming, she created an organization called Marcy's Movement. That's in honor of her sister who was nonverbal and has such a tremendous impact on her life. And that motivated her to create, fitness programs and movement for young adults.
That's awesome. And that's great that you guys have so many great relationships within the community and you can really use those to foster these new programs. Are there any other programs that you guys are really excited about that either you're rolling out in the future or that you recently rolled out where you've been seeing a lot of traction and a lot of enthusiasm within the community?
Yeah, I mean, we're, pickleball is the other thing, right? Everybody talks about the pickleball craze in the U.S. And, initially we really viewed it as an opportunity to provide older adults with fitness and socialization. And now it's, I mean, the folks who are walking in here, taking lessons, keep getting younger and younger. We're also doing, we talk about youth swim as being a huge opportunity to address the rate of drowning in the U.S. But we also have now a lot of adults who are taking swim lessons, and we're trying to provide in an environment where we have dedicated time in the pool. I think for some folks, they might be a little embarrassed to take swim lessons next to a 3-year-old. So we want to have dedicated time so that you're taking the lessons at the same time as other adults. And we want to encourage them to step forward and do this, because it's not only maybe to save your life, but you might be able to save the life of somebody else who could be drowning.
Again, let's go back to that and the impact that the Y has on the community. I had no idea that basketball was founded at the Y. That is incredible. How come I didn't know that? And how come I didn't know that Black History Month was founded at the Y? I did not know these things. Can you expound on some of that?
I think, and I joked about it when I joined here, I said the Y is an amazing organization at doing really wonderful things, but they're also really good at kind of keeping things a secret. I'm like, you got to talk about this stuff. The funny thing about basketball is kind of embarrassing, is that basketball was invented. Initially, the ball was thrown into a peach basket, and you would have someone on a ladder next to the basket to retrieve the ball every time that someone scored. It took 15 years for somebody to say, hey, maybe if we just put a hole at the bottom of that basket and let the ball go through. You don't have to have somebody climb up that ladder every time somebody scores. It took 15 years for that. Can you believe that?
So, I know that the Y provides a lot of in-house services, like you said, with the basketball. I know that there is a huge group of men from Ridgewood that play basketball there. I think it's every Tuesday and Thursday night, right? And is that open for everyone to come, or how does that all work?
The way that I look at the facility here, we have an unlimited amount of demand for the facility. but a limited amount of space to provide the programming. We have now requests for badminton. Basketball is always a popular one, not only with adults, but also with children. So we try to accommodate as best we can. My philosophy is, what are people doing it? Where are they doing it? And can we do it here? The traditional kind of service groups for the Y have been sort of the bookends, right? The youth. I mean, that's a kind of our bread and butter youth, but also older adults. But somewhere in between, what I call the sandwich generation, where I consider myself part of that, where I still have young children and I have influence. Well, at least I like to think I have influence over what they do. Then I'm, sort of you hit that point in your life where there's sort of a role reversal where you're becoming a lot more involved and influential in your parents' decisions and what they're doing. But there's a huge space in between for that sandwich generation. There's so many opportunities for things. We're looking at now. We even looked at triathlon training. The types of classes that we offer now from fitness, Pilates, and yoga, and so on. We're really trying to serve the entire family structure across all generations, not just the youngest and the oldest. And that's creating some challenges for us in that we keep pushing up against a facility that's aged. I mean, the building here is 72 years old plus, and it's forcing us to have to think about what it is that we need to do with the facility here.
I want to learn more about that, but before we step into that, I do agree with you that the classrooms are a little crowded. I've taken classes there. I've been to seminars there, and kudos to everyone who puts that programming together because it's very extensive. It's beneficial to the people who attend those classes. Like you said, you're trying to reach out to everyone in the family. I know you have programming for men who are in this basketball group and other things. And something that I really am appreciative of is your programming for women. I know you have something coming up for menopause to help women walk through that part of their life. So I think that's probably going to be a really, really good program. And I know that you also do something called Parents' Night Out for parents of younger children where they can drop their kids off. I think it's on a Friday night or a Saturday night. And so I want you to tell us a little bit more about all of that. And then I want you to step in and talk about Camp Bernie. It is honestly, for those of you who are listening, that's truly where the popular kids go. Honest to God. Tell us a little bit more about all those things.
Yeah, I mean, we're having the Women's Wellness Weekend coming up. There are a lot of aspects of life that we're all kind of struggling to deal with and balance and so on. So we just want to be the place where it truly become a community center. One of the things I forgot to mention is that we have the 7th grade initiative. So any child in the 7th grade can join the Y for free during their 7th grade. That is the year where a lot of kids start to get more in tune with fitness and, particularly with lifting weights and working out. So hey, look, you want to join? Come in. It's free for 7th graders. And we want to be able to ensure that kids are starting to form those healthy habits very early on. Camp Bernie, as you mentioned, Jeannie, is one of our hidden gems. I didn't realize Camp Bernie was in operation until a couple of years ago. It is providing children with the opportunity to have that very traditional overnight camp experience. We also offer day camp. That's more relevant for the folks who live in the area. Camp Bernie is about an hour away from here. It's in Port Murray in Hunterdon County. It is a wonderful place. It is 300 acres of just natural wooded areas and fields and so on. We have the capacity of around 1,200 campers or so on. We offer 4 different sessions. What we call A, B, C, and D is essentially 10 weeks of summer camp. We start right after school ends in June. My son went to Camp Bernie last year. He had a tremendous experience there. And I remember when I dropped him off, right? I mean, he was a little nervous at first. And then I'm sitting with him and we put the sheets on the bed and we put all his stuff under the bunk. And, we offer these opportunities for everybody, not just the families who can afford it. When I'm dropping him off, there were families there that I knew were on scholarships. And, nobody knew who was who. That day I was Ramon. That's it. I had no affiliation with the Y. Nobody knew that I was the CEO of the place. And nobody sees what kind of car you pull up in, what kind of car you get picked up on. Everyone is there to just be a kid. It's a very, very, safe and wonderful place for children to be children. No electronics. We kind of pull away from that stuff. There's no calling back and forth between home and the camp. Kids are there. We give kids the opportunity to go in and try it out. And almost every time that a child goes in thinking, hey, I'll try for a week and see how it goes, we get the phone call, the parents get the phone call on Thursday. before the Saturday and says, hey, they want to stay for another week, almost every time. Because once you're there and you form these relationships and you're having a great time, the moment you wake up in the morning, you're directed to get your day started, have breakfast and have all these activities, and your entire day is sort of planned out, and you're doing different things like archery and swimming, and you're learning about nature. It's incredible. And it's age appropriate, right? So we divide them into the specific groups. When you get to the older kids, we even have dirt bikes. We have a dirt bike program that kids can do. And, it's the traditional camp experience over the years has been challenged because the preferences and what kids like to do. Equestrian used to be a huge program for us. So we discontinued that program when we found out that not many kids really interested in riding horses anymore. But it is an incredible opportunity. And if you have a chance to take a look on the website, Camp Bernie, it's incredible. Again, it is the hidden gem and one of the few camps that are still operated by the YMCA in the state of New Jersey.
And the other thing that I love about it is the camp counselors have all been through the camp. So they really are invested in making sure that the campers have a great time. Like you said, it's a hidden gem. Now's the time, parents. This is the time for you to sign your kids up for summer camp. Put Camp Bernie at the top of your list. And I think you also offer some day programming. I remember back years ago, you did some incredible day programs where you would take kids into the city, you take the Long Island Sound. So do you still have those programs too?
Yep, we do have day programs. We actually made an investment for the day program when we converted the horse stables. We had a capital campaign and we converted that space to teaching spaces. And we have these incredible field trips where you canoe and then camp and then come back to the camp. It's an overnight camping experience away from the camp itself. There's so many different things. And, the beauty of all of that is that, as you mentioned, our counselors, we have our counselors go through the counselor and training program. That's a very popular program. There's a real passion in the camping world. And when you meet, counselors who've worked at camp, it's a vocation. It really is a calling. It takes a very specific individual and personality to do that work. And we're very appreciative of the quality of the staff that we have in doing that.
Yeah, and I know some of those people, and they are really, really passionate about the work that they do. And the other thing I wanted to talk to you about is your fitness center. Our family uses your fitness center. We're very, very happy there. On one hand, I wish more people knew about it. And then on the other hand, I don't want anybody else to know about it because it's really crowded.
It can be, right? So we want people to know what we're doing. We're also now, Jeannie, doing some personal training, which in the past we didn't have that dedicated space. So we have the Bel Air room is now dedicated training space. We created additional training space because we had some internal programs that were using that space and it was competing with time. So we created a separate space for what we call the dry land training for the swim. So now the Bel Air room is strictly just for personal training. We have stretch as well. You can go in for a stretch session to really get deep into loosening up the hips and your back and the legs and so on, which I find now, I'm almost 50 years old. The things that I was able to do physically, I find myself kind of more limited now. And part of that is because of the lack of flexibility. So if you ever have the chance, we have a wonderful trainer here, Steve, who does deep stretching. But, these are all things that are becoming more popular. And we just want to make sure that we have the right people to do them in the facilities to be able to provide those services.
That's awesome, Ramon, and that speaks right to my heart and all my peers' hearts because all of us are complaining about how we can't do what we used to do. We all wish we were 10, 20 years younger. Let me just ask for our listeners, Ramon, what are ways that folks who want to support this cause, how can they support, donate, volunteer? What's the process to get involved for those who are feeling inspired?
So all of the above. If you have any interest in volunteering, our director of volunteerism is also director of membership. She sits right behind the check-in desk. Her name is Megan Naden. You can reach out to her and she can put you in contact with all of the volunteer opportunities that we have here. In terms of donating, donating is a very important part of what we do. You can't fund the mission just purely on programming. And the Ys are a very different model as a nonprofit than other nonprofits because we do have program revenue. We do generate income. We're not solely relying on donations, but because of the extent of the work that we try to do, it cannot feasibly be covered by programming, right? In order to fund the mission, we do rely on the generosity of donors. We are a 501c3 organization. Anyone interested in donating, if you go on our website, you'll find a link for donating. If you want to more specifically speak about maybe bequests or any higher level of donating, reach our Rala, who's a director of development. You'll be able to contact her on the website, or if you call here. We're always exploring those types of opportunities to be able to fund the mission. We have an annual appeal that normally starts in the fall. This year, we're going to kick it off a little bit earlier. We're going to sort of make the entire year, starting in 2 weeks, a call for the annual appeal for folks to donate. We have a golf outing on June 24th at Hackensack Golf Club in Emerson, which will also be an opportunity for people to get involved and donate. And then we have our annual gala, which this year will be in early November. Those are all opportunities for not only to donate, but also come together and socialize and play golf and enjoy some good food and music and so on. Again, it's not just about taking in donations, it's about creating that community and getting folks involved with what we do.
Well, I'm just going to say right here, I'm not a golfer, but I do like to go to galas. And there is no question the Y Gala is the most fun. You guys, if you want to have fun and do good at the same time, you got to get an invitation to the YMCA Gala. They do such a great job. There are so many people there. And what I love about it the most is that your honorees are well deserving. And I love who you pick each year to really rise up and thank in our community. So listeners, please look into that.
Yeah, the gala last year, we had to unfortunately, people away, or fortunately, it's a nice problem to have, but we had to turn folks away. There was so much demand. Our honoree was Dr. Donald Wheeler, an amazing human being, incredible, person who's done this amazing work in his life and helping others. So I think, we do a great job in selecting those honorees for the gala, for sure.
Yeah, and it was a great time. So we really appreciate you guys on programs you put together. Like Jeannie said, they're first class all the way. As we wrap up here, Ramon, there's just one thing, and it's been a little bit in the rumorville about possible plans of renovation or anything else going on with the YMCA building. Any updates that you want to provide the listeners on things that they should be anticipating or looking to for the future?
Sure. As I mentioned briefly earlier, we've been here for over a century, and today we're meeting the needs of the community, and their significant needs, and those needs continue to grow. And we also want to be here for the needs of tomorrow. So we want to look at upgrading the facility. We want to look at upgrading the swimming pool, possibly creating a youth center for tweens and teens, maybe even looking at an indoor athletic field, improving the current facilities and expanding the size of the current gym space that we have, looking at energy efficiencies, right? This building is over 70 years old, so it's not the most energy efficient place. We're very fortunate to have our director of facilities, who has been with us now this year. Will be 40 years that he's here. And I refer to him more as a magician than he is a director of facilities, because he does tremendous work in keeping this place looking the way that it does. And, we want to be here for good. So we are in the process of looking into what we could possibly do here. We have 4.5 acres of land abutting the central business district in town. I would love to be able to make improvements to the facility without having to close down. Closing down is expensive. You lose program revenue, you lose members potentially, and you lose staff. And no one's going to wait around for what should be maybe 2 years of construction. But it's an opportunity, which is really exciting, an opportunity to recreate the Ridgewood Y. And once we're ready to move forward in a deeper way into the process, what we would like to do is to invite the community to give us their feedback. It's almost like when you do a master plan, right? You invite the community, do a community needs assessment, and really look at, what are the issues that kind of float to the top. And every group that you meet with, you may have different perspectives, but there's always a handful of issues that always float to the top. So we want to create or reinvent the space here of what the community wants. We don't want to bring to the community our plans, what we think the space should be. We would love for the community to help us in figuring that out and bringing to the community what they would want to see here. And, when you do things in that way, it's a very thoughtful way of doing it. It gets expensive. It's a little bit more time consuming, but I think we owe it to the community to be responsible in that endeavor and gathering that feedback and support for what we want to do here. So that's a work in progress. We should have more definitive answers as to what we would want to do here and the process by the end of March, early April. So there's definitely more to come.
That's great. And I know that in the conversations we've had, you're being very thoughtful about it. And, I know you're kind of turning over every stone to make sure that like you said, you kind of got unlimited demand for current space you have. And so how do you kind of balance creating the opportunities for more people to enjoy everything that the Y offers, while also making sure that you can keep service going for those periods of times for all the challenges you highlighted? And I also want to give you a special thanks, our sponsor that we talked about earlier, Ridgewood AM Rotary. The YMCA also is the home to their Thursday morning meetings at 7:30. So you guys do that just out of goodwill, and we really appreciate. The space is great, and you've got all the technology tools right there, and you even provide some on-site help for those members who sometimes struggle getting the Zooms to work. So
AM Rotary, I have to mention, donated the library right outside of the main entrance. There's a bunch of books there. You can drop off or pick up a book. It's a free mini library that we offer. One of the things, Jordan, that we're going to do very soon, and it will happen late April, we're going to bring some rooftop bees to the Y. As you know, our pollinators are under constant threat from pesticides and just urban sprawl. So we're going to install 4 beehives up there next Saturday, this Saturday coming up on the 2nd. I will finally have my beekeeper certification. There will be 4 beekeepers here on site certified by the state. Every beehive has to be registered with the Department of Agriculture. And the tremendous opportunity for us to educate folks about pollinators and the importance in the food supply, but also to demystify bees. Unfortunately, have a really bad reputation because of yellow jackets. People always say, "Oh no, the bees!" The yellow and black little animal that you see that you think is a bee at your family picnic is not a bee. Bees don't want anything to do with your Coca-Cola or your burger. Bees are out foraging for pollen and nectar. But it's an opportunity for us to educate folks about what bees do, the benefits of bees. And also, honey is a highly nutritious food. It's a superfood, and we will be able to donate honey to our food pantry, but also be able to offer honey for sale here at the Y. And we might even have an opportunity to have a contest for the community to design the label on our honey bottles. So, very exciting project to come late April.
that's a great project, Ramon. I can't wait to see you in your beekeeper's suit with the with the net.
Listen, thank you so much for taking time to speak with us today and tell us more about what's happening over at the Y. I just want to again remind our listeners that there are phenomenal programs for youth development, healthy living, and social responsibility over at the Y, led by this wonderful person here, Ramon Hache. Thank you for everything that you do. I wish you all the best in the success of the Y's future. It's in really good hands. And thank you again for what you do for our community. It's greatly appreciated.
Thank you very much. Thank you, so kind, and thank you for the opportunity to speak to you today.
Thanks, Ramon.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Have a great one.